right. And I believe in 8 seconds when OBS catches up with me, we are live. Hello and welcome to the 2019 Gaming Perspective Awards. So this is the second one. Still don't have the Schick Hydrobot. I'm sorry, I don't have the clout.
Shame.
I know, shame. So yeah, we did this show last year. I really liked how we did this. So I'm going to do a brief explanation of what this is. We're going to do introductions. We're going to do an update on our charity gamer score run. And also I will be doing a little bit of channel update at the end of the show. So I hope you guys will jam out with us on your Friday night, so to speak. Is that what the kids say these days? I'm a little behind on the times. Jam out? That's still
Yeet.
cool, right, Eric? Yeah, yeet. I hear that's really popular with the kids. So, right off the top, actually, we're going to start... Oh, we're echo. Okay, we're echoing. Let me see... Why is there an echo? Oh God, it's coming through. I'm coming through multiple times. Okay, that's cool. Bear with me here. Audio input capture, audio output capture. Oh, I think I know what it is. All right, native. Is this better? Is this sounding better? Still don't have the Schick Hydrobot. Sorry, I don't have the clout. Start. Oh, we're echo.
Maybe not. Who knows? Spin the wheel and find out.
I'm trying to figure out why I'm coming through double. Is this better? No, it's not better.
Trouble.
Alright, hold on. Why am I echoing? Oh, that... Wow. Okay, that's cool. There we go. This should fix the issue. I hope. This should fix the issue. Yep, there we go. I can hear it on the recording now. All right, so I am sorry about that. Apparently OBS likes to have a mic input as well as an audio input level, so I started out in double. So learning curves. Yay. So we're going to restart from the beginning, and I will cut that out of the recording. So we'll start the intro all over again. So, welcome to the Gaming Perspectives 2019 Game Awards. This is the award show that we did last year. And it's a little different than most award shows. Instead of having a vote and having recommended games that we all duke it out over what should win each category, what we typically do is everyone gets to nominate what they feel is the best fit for that category and do a brief explanation of why it fits that category best and why they like that game for that category and etc. So you get a little bit of a variety and taste because all of us here have very different tastes in video games. We have a lot of crossover, but there's also a lot of stuff that makes us very different. So I think it gives a nice highlight of different developers and games that maybe you just haven't had a chance to check out yet this year, or if you're looking for different games to try out, it's a great place to learn. So without further ado, I will introduce my panel and let them do their introductions. To my left is Mr. Samuel Tolbert.
Hey everybody, it is good to be back. It's been a solid minute since this crew has been together, but we had to get together one last time for our special awards. The only ones that matter apart from the ones in your heart, which are the ones that absolutely matter the most. So yeah, let's get started.
Awesome. And Jared?
Well, it's nice to be back for sure, and especially after last night. These are very exciting times ahead, and you know what? I'm also very excited to see what everybody picked for their Game of the Year awards as well this time around. So let's get talking. I'm excited. It'll be good.
Awesome. And shout out to Relevant Native in the chat for helping us fix our audio issues. And also introducing Mr. Eric Jackson.
What is going on, everybody? Happy to be here. Very interesting week in our world of gaming. A lot of activity. And it's going to be interesting to talk about some of that.
Absolutely. So, as a little bit of an update, we started a Gamerscore run on December 1st for Sickle Cell Research. And I just want to give everybody a little update about what the top 5 is looking like so far. And I'll give an overall what money we are at stage as well. So, currently in the lead, and keeping in mind I am disqualified from winning the $60 game. Darn it. I'm currently in the lead with 5,880.
Not bad.
I've been slacking.
Yes, I've been up to do.
I've been really busy the past few days with work and everything else, but as the holidays come down and things slow down, I'll be able to step that up a little. In second place currently is Jared with 2,705.
Woo. That'll get up there. I got a couple games in my pocket.
Absolutely. And in number 3 spot is a gentleman named Ripley241 who's recently followed me on Twitter. He is at 2,575, only a few hundred behind Jared.
Oh boy, I really got to get going then.
And I also want to note that out of nowhere, Mr. Eric Jackson has taken the next spot with 2,130.
Hello.
Here's Eric.
And my good friend and comrade Josh, who rounds out the 5th place spot with 2,129. I do not know what cursed game he played to get the 9.
That's gonna be brutal to even out.
Dude, I don't even want to talk about even gamer scores. This is one of the reasons why I think PlayStation trophy hunting is slightly superior to Xbox achievement hunting. Because you want to know what my gamer score is? 207,247.
47. Wow.
Because of a 2 gamer score achievement in Halo. I think it's Halo. I can't remember which game it was. It was a Microsoft game. I know that. Cursed Microsoft ruining my gamer score. All right, so that means in total, as it sits right now, including people that were not in the top 5, we are currently sitting at. We are sitting at roughly, give or take, $150 raised so far.
Not bad.
Nice. It's pretty good.
We have room to grow, but not bad.
Not too shabby. Shout out to a PR member from Red Lake, I'm butchering this name, Red Lake Games, who dropped some indie codes to me when he heard about me doing a Gamerscore run for a charity. So shout out to them. That score is going to be getting boosted very, very rapidly in the coming week. But seriously though, shout out to those guys for supplying codes for charity. I've seen them do it for charity groups all the time, and they also did it for Brian PS4 Trophies, who is a key part of the trophy hunting community, who I think is going for a world record of 50 platinums in 24 hours. I think that's this weekend. So shout out to those guys and what they do. And yeah, so that's the update, and I'm going to share another update closer to Christmas time when I can learn to speak English. And then, of course, the final update will be on December 31st with the announcement of the winner of the game, and the overall total of donations will be on the January 4th episode of the Gaming Perspective podcast. So I just want to say thanks again to those that are participating, and a massive thank you to Mike P. DeTruth, who said he didn't have time to game, so he just directly donated.
Yes, I wanted to shout him out. He did DM me and tell me that. Shout out to you, Mike, for doing that.
Very nice of him.
Mike is always the homie. He always pulls through. He was a huge proponent to Ivan getting a PlayStation. He was a proponent to me getting an Xbox One. That dude has so much love, though being the one person on Multiverse that 98% of the time I cannot agree with. Unless it comes down to Resident Evil 2 being Game of the Year. So weird. What is this timeline? So, we're going to go right into our Game of the Year awards, and don't worry, this isn't the pre-show. YouTube, don't demonetize me, that was not a dunk. So, the thing is when I made up these categories, these are all beefy categories. So, I decided to keep the list fairly short. Instead of having a bunch of filler categories, we got some nice beefy categories to start off. So we're going to start, and just to bug Sam, because I know somewhere in his head this is going to drive him nuts, I'm going to randomly select categories as we go, instead of going and doing the list top to bottom.
As long as Game of the Year is the last one, that's fine.
No, that's going to be in the pre-show.
Serenity now. Serenity now.
We're going to start with a personal favorite category of mine, which is the Quiznos Toasty Best Indie. Once again, YouTube, do not demonetize me. So, we're first going to go to Sam, because his list was the most interesting. For Sam's nomination for Toasty Best Indie, his answer was, didn't play an indie this year, sue me.
Talk that talk,
Look,
Sam.
Look, I'm not saying it was a bad year for indie games. It was a great year for indie games. But my job dictated my time, and I wasn't able to play any of them. I've heard incredible things about Disco Elysium, Outer Wilds, Sayonara Wild Hearts. I've heard incredible things about all these games. I'm sure they're all fantastic. I'm sure any of them could be deserving of a nomination. I cannot, in good faith, nominate any of them.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
There it is. Fair.
Yep.
Wow. Now I know how Sam.
Dunk me.
Now I know how Sam feels when I say I haven't played The Witcher 3. Wow. This man's getting a Christmas gift list of indies to his Steam account next week. Jesus. So it's fair though, because like sometimes indies fall under the radar, and this year was a really hectic year in terms of spacing for AAA games, in terms of longer games chewing up the slower months, such as Days Gone and whatnot, that kind of chewed up some time that could have been used for some good indies. So I respect it. All right. Now we're going to go to Eric's pick, because goddamn do I love this pick. So for Eric's nomination, he chose Untitled Goose Game. So Eric, why is Untitled Goose Game the best indie game of the year?
Mainly because it's one of the few that I've actually had a chance to play. But man, I love when a game comes out of nowhere and just kind of steals the conversation and fosters a ton of memes. And any game that you get to troll as a goose, because as Jared and I have talked about, geese are assholes.
Yes, they are.
People don't know that about them, but they're aggressive like assholes. So props, for this game being made. It's fun. And the funny thing is, it has like the puzzles in it are not all super challenging, but very creative, very thought out. And I love the fact that it has an end game. Like it's a fast playthrough, but there's so much to do later. So now that it's on platforms like PS4 and Xbox, I can definitely see people who are trophy hunters and achievement hunters, like going for that. But it's a lot of fun. I know people dismissed it because it looks cutesy or it looks like whatever. What kind of fun is that playing as a goose? But I would definitely challenge people to give it a shot. because it does have pretty fun gameplay.
I will double down on this nomination because I've really enjoyed my short time with the game. And I also have to admit, I believe Derek from SDGC tweeted this. I agree with it. I'm down for so many variations of Untitled Animal games, like Untitled Weasel game, Untitled Cat game,
Untitled Moose game.
Even more Canadian.
Untitled
I'd
for
play it.
Miami. In Miami, we could have Untitled Pitbull game where everybody just runs, jumps on top of a car, just.
Shoot, that's funny.
All right. Now, for Jared's nomination for the Quiznos Toasty Best Indie, not sponsored by Quiznos, actually sponsored by Mr. Sub, A Plague Tale. So, Jared,
Yes.
why is A Plague Tale your indie winner this year?
Excellent pick.
Well, yeah, it's one of those games like how Eric said with Uncharted Goose Game was his biggest like standout kind of random game you didn't expect to come out with. All of a sudden there it is, and you play and you go, damn, this is actually pretty fun. That was kind of the same experience I had with The Plague Tale, but it was a game that I've had my eye on for a couple of years since it got first announced, and ended up playing it and just completely became enamored and fell in love with it. The storytelling's fantastic. The gameplay, what it is, it's actually just right for the game. It's a great foundation for them to build on and to work upon, especially if they're going to end up continuing the series, which they are. The visuals, absolutely incredible. The music sets an incredible atmosphere where it's kind of delightful but dreadful at the same time, and fearful and terrifying, and it just creates all these emotions in you. It's just one of those scenes where it had like the Last of Us vibes when you first play it, sort of thing. Just kind of that nice, good single player emotional experience that you really just want more of, that you kind of end up craving, that you don't get too often, but when you finally get a taste of it, you're like, oh yeah, I didn't know I was looking for this, but I finally found it. And to have that come from an indie game, from a solo, and having their hearts poured into this in a setting that is very rarely ever used, it just became my top pick.
Nice. That was such a heartfelt speech. It was almost enough for me to not butt in and point out that it doesn't technically fit as an indie game, since it was backed by a publisher.
Hey!
But
Have
I'll
my
let you
moment,
have it.
man. Thank you.
I'll let you have it.
Thank you.
What you said can still stand.
Thank you.
Well, now, for my pick, and as everyone knows, I'm a friggin' indie nerd. I beat over 78 indies last year, not including AAA games. If there's an indie and it's in my affordability range, I will try it. And my top indie this year, because I also, as Sam, am a bit of a snob and don't consider A Plague Tale: Innocence as an indie, but I will give Jarrett the pass for it because it is so amazing that a studio that made Disney games.
This is my runner-up. I'll just throw that in there, okay?
My winner for Indie Game of the Year is a Devolver Digital title, which should surprise no one. My friend Pedro is my favorite indie game of this year, and people that follow me know I will never, ever shut up about this game because
It's fun as hell.
the thing is everyone knows gameplay is my jam, and my friend Pedro is 100% about the gameplay. Like, yeah, there's a story there, but you don't really care about it. You just want to blow people up with a shotgun in slow motion. Like, let's be honest. Chaining combos together to get better rankings, that's another itch that Metal Gear Solid started with me. With the, you can get an S rank. It's like, oh, well, I gotta get that S rank now. So that combined with Matrix style shooting and just all around just stellar gameplay, one of the best indie titles that came out this year, bar none.
Another good pick.
Yep, absolutely.
It's almost like this whole panel has incredibly good takes on video games. Now, to speak of things, the times that this panel did not have good takes on video games, we're going to talk about the biggest disappointments of 2019.
I knew it. Oh no.
So, we're going to actually start with Eric. Because his biggest disappointment of 2019 really irks me. And
Really what?
because he's
Yeah,
not
explain yourself, man.
because he's not being part of the crew and part of the ship with this. So, his biggest disappointment this year is Wolfenstein Youngblood, and I really want to hear why, actually.
Okay. It's tough because it's not disappointment in the terms of the game utter trash. I know people that will say that, right?
No, you're saying it's a biggest disappointment. It can be a disappointment, still
Right.
be okay.
And because I want to clarify that because people may think you say disappointment, it's like, oh, it's complete trash and whatever. It's a disappointment for me because there's not been in this current generation a Wolfenstein game that came out that I didn't play from beginning to end and just talked it up and rocked with it. I think a few months ago I said to you guys, I totally forgot I had this game. That was a check mark for me. The other side of it was when the times or the point that I have played it, I was kind of like, I wasn't really like vibing with it and feeling it on my own. And I said, I guess from what I'm hearing is you need someone else. I kind of have a peeve with that because I kind of feel, when a game has a co-op component, it should be an additive and not sort of like something of a requirement to enjoy it, fully, right? So take like something like like Borderlands 3. I played through that entire game like solo, but I know at any point you guys could jump in and we could rock and it'd be even more fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was disappointing in the fact that I wasn't really enjoying because if you could tell it's built to play with somebody else. And I'm used to Wolfenstein games being, solo act, pick up and play and rock through it. And I thought it was going to be great for the fact that, I can rock through this solo, but then I can also grab a friend and we can rock through it together. But it seems like it's the reverse. So that was a bit disappointing. And it wasn't really like pull me back in. I do want to get back to it eventually, but I'm like, man, a game that does not have me, is not pulling me back to it over everything else. It's kind of crazy to me.
That's fair.
Yeah, so
That's fair.
That's
Absolutely fair.
That is 100% fair. However,
Don't kill me, Nick.
However, there is no machine game slander on this panel. And there is certainly no arcane slander on this panel.
And there's neither of those are in that statement.
I know.
So I still love the move. I kind of felt like, man, but does the proper take this game over? Ooh.
Okay. You know what? I'm gonna show up in Florida with a butter knife, man, and you ain't gonna know what to do. I'm gonna come swinging with that butter knife, and you ain't gonna know what to do.
We have to meet in North Florida if you're gonna come at me with a butter knife. It's gonna make the news.
I can see the headline now. Florida butter knife swinging Florida man turns out to actually be Canada man.
or how about this one? Man travels all the way from Canada to attack Florida man with butter knife.
Oh boy.
That sounds like a Florida headline.
It does.
All right. So Sam, your biggest disappointment of 2019
Yes.
was Anthem. Tell us why Anthem was your biggest disappointment this year, sir.
Well, the problem is, despite the affection and the verbal praise that it got from many people, some who could even be on this podcast, perhaps, the fact of the matter is, I saw the writing on the wall. I think many of us did. We saw the problems coming, but at the end of the day, it was still a disappointment because I wanted BioWare to pull through. I wanted that BioWare magic to pull together, and at the last minute, to make everything incredible and for it to be great. And it's like, no, guys, you actually missed it. It may not be a true RPG, but we've done some incredible things in here, and it doesn't just look good. It actually has incredible other stuff as well, and the story is deep, and the lore and the world. I wanted a game that, even if it wasn't a proper BioWare RPG, that I could go get lost in it for 30 hours, 40 hours, all the same. And I didn't get that. Maybe from some leaked rumors and reports of Anthem 2.0 or Anthem Next, like maybe I'll one day get that. But for now, they didn't deliver. And that comes on top of a bunch of other problems that BioWare has been having, and it was just one more disappointment. my hopes and my memories, considering BioWare used to bring Game of the Year contenders by default, they used to be one of the household names of studios, as far as I'm concerned. So considering how far they've come since then, it was still a disappointment.
I have to admit, coming off a Game of the Year win with Dragon Age Inquisition and then putting out Mass Effect Andromeda and Anthem back-to-back hurts. But no one knows hurt quite like Jared with his pick, which, by the way, is the only customized text I got on any of the titles sent to you guys, is biggest disappointment in 2019. There's about 15 dots, and I fucking hate you guys. It's Anthem.
Don't hate us. Don't hate us.
Jared. So Jared.
I hate myself mostly.
So Jared, why is Anthem your most disappointing game of 2019?
Do I really have to explain myself? Oh my lord. Okay, if anybody's just like listening to this for the first time, if you really want to know, I really was excited for Anthem. I was for the longest time, and I was straight up until about the a 90-hour mark into the game, and then I realized there's really nothing to this game. It's a single-player game with not a whole lot to the world, with very buggy mechanics that's running on a freaking graphics engine that is absolute garbage, as well as some sort of stupid weird loot system that they're trying to implement into this graphic engine about loot so they can balance microtransactions. I don't know what the hell they're doing. It's just stupid. They need to stop. It needs to go away. And they did not focus on a proper RPG. It was an action-adventure game, and it's not an RPG, but the world they built was so incredible, so cool. I really want more of it. They got something here, and I really wanted some sort of really good end game to help me validate basically my time spent into the game. And it wasn't. There was nothing there. I put 120 hours into this game, and there was no reason for me to continue into something that I truly enjoyed, and there was nothing to keep me going and keep my attention there. And that really disappointed me. It really did. So, Anthem is my biggest disappointment this year, and I really hope they turn around at some point in time. But at this point, I'm stepping back from it. I'm just done. Bastards.
You know what? I troll the hell out of Jared, but I get this. I have had games that have done that to me, and it sucks. I'm going to talk about my biggest disappointment of the year, and this may come as a surprise to some people, because I haven't talked a lot about this game, but my biggest disappointment this year was Days Gone. And the reason Days Gone is my biggest disappointment is because over this whole generation, Sony Interactive Entertainment has done such an amazing job of putting out quality games. They've built such a reputation. PlayStation as a brand, as well as a first-party publisher, has put out such quality games front to back. They work, they play great. Even if I didn't like them, I appreciated the quality that went into them. Yes, even Knack. I know you might listen to this podcast, Mark Cerny. I didn't mind Knack. But the state in which Days Gone launched in was unacceptable. For a handful of reasons. If a developer launches a game and says, this game is rough around the edges, we know we need to fix this. But if Sony Bend hadn't been bragging the year before that we're done this game, we're just doing bonus stuff. That's why the release date got pushed back, because we're just working on smoothing out some edges. The game was practically unplayable by the time you hit the third camp. It went from being a cinematic game to being a PowerPoint presentation. The mechanical glitches, the enemy glitches, I had T-standing enemies, I had hordes falling through the map, I fell through the map, I had hordes fall out of the sky and land on me, which is still the best glitch that's ever happened to me. Nothing better than walking through a forest, all of a sudden a whole horde of zombies falls out of the sky on top of you. Great glitch. Bethesda would even call it a feature. But it was so disappointing to me because I thought they could do something really special with that game. But the end all and cap of this game being the most disappointing game I played this year was why I was 40 hours in and I was actually invested in the story and the game performance was starting to smooth out. My save file corrupted and I had to start from ground zero again after 40 hours. And I traded in the game and I'm probably not going to go back to it till PS5. Because I can bear through glitches. People know I'm a Fallout 76 fan. I can bear through glitches if the game really hooks me in. But your game goes right in my trash bin as soon as it screws up my save files. Period. End of story. I am a father of 2. I do not have time to replay 40 hours of your game because you are too incompetent to code it properly. I am hoping that Sony Bend gets the support they need. For Days Gone 2, I think they laid great groundwork for a sequel, and I'm very excited to what they can do next. And I really do look forward to going back into Days Gone on PS5 when performance will probably be at a locked 4K 60 FPS. So yeah.
All right.
See, Jared, it wasn't everyone dunking on Anthem. So now we are going to go. We're going to go best art style next. And I'm going to let Eric go first because I really, really love his pick. So Eric chose Link's Awakening. I'll throw the Legend of Zelda in front of that too, in case anyone doesn't know who Link is.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Want me to expand on that?
Yes, absolutely. Why does Link's... Because everyone talks about all these great games that come out this year, and it's so weird to me that Link's Awakening does not appear to have come up in many of these conversations.
Yeah, and it's tough, man, because category-wise, there are many candidates. And I kind of went back and forth on a couple and landed on Link's Awakening because as I was just kind of looking through it, I was looking through some of the art styles and looking through various games as I was trying to make my decision. And I'm like, damn, this game is charming, just beautiful looking. And it's cute, it's adorable, it's all those things, but the way it just pops, you know, on screen, like whether you're holding a handheld, even, you know, docked, which, you know, some Switch games kind of suffer when you go dock mode. But Nintendo has this way of kind of, you know, getting the most out of their game, you know, on their, I'm doing air quotes, lesser, you know, console as far as power goes. Mm-hmm. But the remake aspect of what they did with it, just you know, taking it from sprites and kind of bringing it into that like 2D, 3D like realm was just brilliant. You know, their use of color palette is just insane. That's something that just really stands out in this game to me.
I have to admit,
my other pick would have been Concrete Genie. One of my other picks.
Yeah. Concrete Genie was fantastic for art style. It's unfortunate that I have the creativity of a 3-year-old. But Link's Awakening was the first time where in my gut I went, I need to figure out some way to afford a Nintendo Switch. Like, if I ever figure out a way to afford a Nintendo Switch, that's the first game I'm buying. Because
it's a wonderful game.
It looks so good and wholesome. And you know what? As much as I'm the rip and tear Doom guy and everything else, I love those clean-cut art styles with the cartoony characters, and it just speaks to me on a different level. And I think that's a really, really solid pick.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
So for best art style, from Sam, this should really come as no surprise to anyone. But I also have to agree with him as I've put my first couple hours into this game. Sam chose for best art style / direction Control. Now, Sam, why is Control the best game this year for art direction to you, sir?
Games can be colorful. Games can have sprites. Games can go for a particular theme or whatever. You know, they can be pretty. But art style and graphics sometimes get pushed and mixed together when they shouldn't. It takes art direction to make a style really pop. And while I do have some issues with the game, Control is the very idea, the very concept of style and direction made manifest. It is an incredibly sleek game with reds and blacks that play off of glossy surfaces that work perfectly within the Northlight engine. The direction is always haunting. Tunnels and halls stretch on far, far beyond what they should. Rooms repeat. And you can get disoriented, but then you can fly, so it turns out okay. And every time you enter a new room, these giant, super crisp, super high resolution white letters take up the entire screen and tell you where you are. It's very bold. It's very in your face. It's saying, hey, we've got a direction and we're going for it. And I admire that kind of bold, tenacious idea in game art styles. It's unlike anything I've ever played in the art direction.
Well said.
Yeah, I can't argue with that.
Can I jump in there real quick before we move
By
on?
all means.
Of course.
Yeah, Sam, you and I talked about Control like around the time that it came out, and you were asking me how I was feeling about it, and I kind of said at the time, I don't know if it's like meshing with me, right? I think that might have just been symptom of where my head was at that time, because sometimes you might be playing a game and you're focused on something else or you're distracted by something, right? But I have to say, man, like I was puzzled when it was nominated for Game of the Year, but as some time has gone on, which by the way, I want to say Control was actually another game that I was thinking of for art direction, because Sam's absolutely right. When you look at this game, the contrast, the starkness, the playing of empty space, minimalism. Guys, I'm a fan of minimalism.
Yep.
And they did it masterfully. So I'm actually very excited to go back into Control when I clean up some of these other games that I'm playing now, right?
Yeah.
But I was listening to like Sacred Symbols, and I've actually been thinking about this over the last few weeks since it was nominated. I'm kind of like, I actually understand why Control was nominated in some of the categories it was, and why it may have actually been nominated for Game of the Year, because while it was not a sales darling, there is something about it.
Absolutely.
It knows what it's going for. Now,
Right.
I will maintain some comments I made before about unacceptable technical performance.
Yeah.
And I mean,
absolutely.
it was a technical mess when it launched. Let's not
Right.
forget that, please. It was
Right.
basically unplayable on the base consoles, and that's not really cool in my opinion. But even at that point, the art direction is on point.
Mhm.
No one can deny that. No one can
But
argue.
what I think about this game, though, I think it's gonna have a tale of cult-like status.
I hope so. I
It's gonna
honestly
be-
do hope so.
I really feel it's gonna be one of those games that, as the years, are just gonna like more people might find it, and more people might talk about it, and it'll be in conversations about certain things, right? And as I said, I was listening to Sacred Symbols, and Colin brought up the fact that Spec Ops: The Line was not a sales darling. It was a game that people largely ignored, but it's a game that still maintains like a bottom line of sales. It still shows up, in their sales numbers. And it's because it's one of those games that people will hear somebody else say, "Have you ever checked out this game? Because it's awesome." It's always in a sale somewhere, and it's usually like a word of mouth type of game. And I kind of think Control might have that tail.
It could. I think it depends on as well what they do with the DLC and some other things.
Right.
It very well could be. It very well
Right.
could be. It'll be very interesting. And I was very glad to see at the Game Awards that Control picked up Best Art Direction there as well. I was very happy to see that. I can't argue with that
Yeah, absolutely.
because I nominated that in mine. So.
Yeah, and to point out something, shout out to Diego in the chat. The Astral Maze alone gives Control the best art direction. I can't wait to get this part in the game, because this is the part that everyone I follow on Twitter is always talking about.
Let me put it this way, Nick. Okay, I'm going to use a comparison that you will understand in context. Okay?
Okay.
Because you've actually played this game. And Eric will understand this context as well. I don't know about Jared, and he better understand it.
I have a feeling where you're going.
There are only 3 times, excuse me. There are only 3 times ever before in this generation that someone has hyped a level or section up to me, and it lived up to the hype. The first one was the mission Cause and Effect in Titanfall 2.
Yep, I knew you were going to bring that one up. Yep.
The second one that lived up was the Clockwork Mansion in Dishonored 2.
Absolutely.
This is the third. To put this into context, with the 2 examples I used before, the Ashtray Maze is the 3rd time something has lived up to that kind of hype.
That's an incredible level, honestly. Like that, yeah, I can't argue with that one. That's an incredible level.
For the love of God, experience
it,
knowing nothing, if you possibly can.
I just started the DLC today, so like I can't wait to go back and screw around in this weird ass building.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to get back into it. I'm going to start it from scratch because I've been away from it too long.
Good idea. Good idea.
I'm just going to go back.
That's a good idea.
Yeah,
it's not super long either, so like you're still gonna.
Yeah, I actually have no problem.
Yeah, you'll be
Sometimes
good.
Some games I'm like, there's no way I'm going. But I didn't feel that about Control.
Witcher 3, cough.
That's what I did. I'm restarting The Witcher 3 this weekend because I started it about a year and a half ago.
I was like 60 hours into my first playthrough and stopped.
I got about 2 hours in with this is the best game ever, and then got like 3 reviews assigned to me, and I forgot about it. So I have to replay the first 3 hours again because I'm like, there's a lot of important stuff that goes on right off the bat. So I'm a replay.
You did save that wall of text I sent you, right?
Yeah, it's screenshot on my phone.
Good idea.
So Jared's pick for best art style direction is once again my man coming through with the great indie picks. He picked Gris. Gris. I still cannot pronounce this right. But Jared, why is that your pick?
Gris. Yeah, it's pronounced Gris. Oh man.
I thought it was Grease.
Grease? It ain't Grease Lightning. It ain't spelled G-R-E-S-E or whatever the hell you call it.
I heard somebody say Grease, but then again, I heard Michelle Rodriguez say Tekken, so.
I didn't notice that. Oh my lord. No, my. Okay.
I don't know what the hell Tekken was, but okay.
It's a type of tea.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Anyways, Gris. I've been really curious about this game for a long time. I really kind of liked how they were trying very hard to basically take it feels like a 1970s old school independent artist drawing, and they took it and they started making it move and making it interact with environments and objects. And it was really neat how a lot of the artwork itself is a part of the level design, and how a lot of the level design is like, it's basically pure artwork. That game itself, from start to finish, is a whole one giant piece of art. You could stop at any point in time, take a screenshot, and that could be a freaking painting. It is incredible what these guys have done to make it look so colorful, so lively and vibrant, and just look like it's actual true moving art. The color play in it and how it actually affects the environment and the play of the game and the atmosphere and the mood, and how the colors combine to create different ones and it creates a whole different new atmosphere in the game. Just lots of little things where from an artistic point of view, it's absolutely incredible. Like, I was blown away by it, and I've played quite a few games this year, quite a few, and this is the only one where I truly found that it's actually art, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm actually working on my review for the game right now, and it's one of a kind. Like Cuphead, it's completely 100% hand drawn.
Yep.
I believe it was watercolor, specifically.
Yep, watercolor painting is mostly what it's all based off of. Yeah, absolutely. And it's incredible how a lot of the textures is they look like watercolor paint strokes or splotches, or like a splash of like water that was the paintbrush was sitting there, sort of thing, had some blue paint that you're using that splashes across your page and it stains it, sort of thing. They pull that off so incredibly well. It's a wonderful thing to see. It's a nice, different thing to see for a video game that you don't see very often. That I would like for indie developers to be more bold about and to start doing more of.
Yeah, absolutely. My pick is, I'm not going to say it's weird, but it's just a game I've been playing recently. I picked it up in February. I'm not going to specify February. I picked up in spring, and I dropped it because of other games. And now I'm starting to play it again, and I really just appreciate all the different tones of color and everything all the tiny details that go into it. So my pick for art direction is Metro Exodus. Because the world environments that they created are so detailed and so elegant, but dark at the same time. Even when it's bright, it feels dark, but it's not dark. You just have a constant feeling of dread. And that's completely portrayed by both the amazing musical soundtrack as well as the art itself. And it's such an odd series, and I just love it because it does something that other games just don't. And just gets all the small details right. It's so hard to explain, but Metro Exodus is it's also one of the most stunning games this generation. I will fight anyone on that in terms of, like, I don't know if it's like true 4K or whatever, but god damn, that game looks good. Like, that is a game I'm going to reload on PS5 and Xbox Series X and be like, alright, let's go. Alright? Like, it's amazing. The load times are killing me, though.
It's an excellent pick, dude. It's an excellent pick.
Yeah,
That game looks gorgeous, and especially when you get into like a thunderstorm and the rain is pouring down on you, and the way the light rays come through. I
also really I didn't want to put it in my actual pick for art design or art design in general, but Gears 5 during the storms is probably some of the most beautiful design I've seen in video games, in terms of the fact that it ran consistently frame rate wise during all the chaos and all the color and everything going on. I never had performance issues. It's stunning. So I'll put that as an honorable mention, so to speak. So we got that out of the way. We got best art style. All right, best narrative. This is... Let me see. Okay, so we're just going to brush... We're not going to brush over this, but we all can just put a little bit in, because all four of us have the same game for best narrative.
No way.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Really?
Wait, no way. All four of us?
Jared has A Plague Tale's Innocence. Sam has A Plague Tale's Innocence. I have A Plague Tale's Innocence. And yeah, we all have A Plague Tale's Innocence.
America's
Hey,
awesome.
It's almost as if we're saying, hey, this has an incredible story, go play it. It's literally on sale on every platform right now. PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. If you haven't got it, go get it.
Go get it. It's so... it's just so good.
Okay, so... this is interesting because we all picked it. I got so attached to Amicia de Rune and Hugo de Rune, as obnoxious as he could be at times. Like, yeah, it was a realistic depiction of a little kid. It was a very oppressive, gothic atmosphere, very medieval, obviously, setting. The story, it knew when to make things oppressive and keep on pushing in, and you're running from the rats and you're running from the Inquisitors. And it felt like a victory to get to those brief points where the sun was out. And like, oh, okay, there's a little bit of relief. I can breathe for a bit here. What a fantastic story. What an absolutely fantastic story.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There's a lot I think a lot of us could say about this game in general, about the story and how how it portrays it and how you interact with everything and just how lively and dark and just wonderful the storytelling is.
Mhm.
Just yeah, we can't tell you enough. If you haven't played it yet, go pick it up, play it. It's not long, 12 to 14 hours at the most to complete it. You'll enjoy every minute.
Yep, I agree.
The only thing I'll say
You
on it
trophy
is
hunters,
the only thing I'll say is the fact that this narrative, this game has captured the minds of so many people, and the last game the studio worked on was Disney Rush Adventure.
wow.
This is why I tell people you should always judge a studio on a game-to-game basis. Because Asobo Studios now to me is a must-watch studio. They've done one game that's outside the realm of Disney and animated films. One game. And to me, this is... I don't want to say it's their Last of Us, because that's really putting it too high on a pedestal, and I hate putting things on a pedestal. But the clear comparisons you can draw between the two are undeniable in the style of game it is. But how they approached combat was so unique to me, and it fit the story so well, because you're not a teenage girl like knifing a knight in the eye. You're a teenage girl who's sneaking and finding different ways to approach different complicated situations that no one should ever have to deal with. And they also wrote a narrative in a time frame that so many developers seem to not want to acknowledge existing.
Which doesn't make any sense, because look how wonderful of a story you can portray and tell in that type of environment and time that's so almost like never ever used. It boggles my freaking mind because there's so much potential there.
I think a lot of it comes down to is the... we're not going to get into it. This could go into a long conversation. I'm not going to start. I'm not going to... I caught myself on that one. I think people's... religious and political views play into why the Plague era and that era of medieval history is not looked upon.
Yeah,
It's tackled. It's the same thing why colonial time periods aren't really tackled, because then you've got tackled different social issues that we like to leave in the past and don't want to talk about. But as I've always said, if you have tact and a great writing team, a perfect example is a game like Mafia 3. They took the 1970s by the horns and depicted the racism and everything else that went on in the 1970s in a very blunt but also tasteful way. So I think you just have to have the talent to be able to tell those stories. And I hope more developers jump in to that era and pull more stories out. That's all I'll say on that. So, best developer of 2019. We're going to start with... Let's go with Sam. So,
okay.
Sam's best developer of 2019 was Respawn Entertainment. This really doesn't need an explanation, but Sam, you've got the floor, my friend.
Respawn Entertainment simultaneously... Well, first off, they launched Apex Legends at the start of the year with basically no warning. No one knew this was happening until it had happened, and they were doing it. And they continued the Titanfall universe with a new game set in the Titanfall universe. It's set in the mythology several years later after Titanfall 2. And it continues that world, expands on it, shows us new ideas. And this game became a legitimate threat to Fortnite, and is consistently nipping at Fortnite's heels. The only reason it isn't doing better than that is because Respawn isn't crunching like Epic Games does to constantly get changes out, to constantly get crossovers and updates. And it proved that you could have a viable first-person only alternative, and that you could have a new, fresh take on Battle Royale squads, and it keep that classic Respawn gunplay and Respawn parkour and movement. And then on top of that, if that somehow wasn't enough, then they made Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, which is the best Star Wars game we've gotten in the last 10 years, if not beyond that. Probably the last 15 years, actually. It's probably been since like Republic Commando or Battlefront 2 or Knights of the Old Republic. And yeah, they provided a great story there. And so for them to do both of those games in the same year, heck yeah, I don't see how anyone else competes.
Yeah, that's
hard to argue with. Honestly.
Yeah, no, yeah, like, yeah, okay, yeah.
Very solid pick.
All right, yeah.
Let me put it this way. Contextually, it's very rare that you see a developer release a single-player game that charts #2 on NPD, as well as release one of the biggest free-to-play multiplayer games in the same year.
Yeah. Exactly.
Don't know why I have to explain. Like, Sam did it perfectly, but I don't know why people still need to be explained to people why Respawn is so good. It's old Infinity Ward. These are the great people from Infinity Ward that made Call of Duty Modern Warfare what it was. I don't know how else to explain it. They're uber talented studio, and they deserve, like, I think Jedi Fallen Order need a month or two more in the oven, and I blame EA for probably rushing it out the door. But I think Respawn needs to be in the conversation when we start talking about Naughty Dog, Sony Santa Monica. I think Respawn will be there next generation. 100%.
Yeah, I agree.
So Jared's pick for Best Developer was Remedy Entertainment. Jared, why is Remedy Entertainment your Studio of the Year or Best Developer?
Devolver Digital.
No, you said Publisher.
Publisher. What?
Right?
What did I say?
You said, "Hey, I'm changing my Best Publisher pick for tonight's show."
That's Publisher. Yeah.
They crossed the streams.
Okay. Right. It's been a long day for me. Okay. So Remedy. The reason why I chose Remedy, Control, for example. They did so well in Control. I think that was it's such a standout game. We've already talked about it multiple times tonight, but there's not much more I can say on it other than it's really such a standout game. For me, it's a trademark game for Remedy. It's something that they can easily stand on for, in my mind, for the next 10 to 15 years and be recognized for that game. Like, hey, these guys made this game. This game is freaking fantastic. Look what they did in, like, art direction, their audio design, the character design, the story, how they portrayed everything, the game in general. Remedy itself, I feel like it's such a growing studio that it's another studio like Respawn to keep an eye on, especially next generation, because I feel once they really get that engine worked out, especially with these more powerful consoles and better tech and hardware, they're going to blow things through the roof. Just watch for the craziest game next time after this Control, if they make Control 2 or whatnot. But man, yeah, I like Remedy.
That is 100% fair, and I feel like Sam's internally smiling right now.
I can't complain. I'll put it that way.
Eric, your Best Developer of 2019 was Capcom. Why was Capcom your Best Developer of 2019?
I just believe that these guys are like firing on all cylinders. They took, and in my personal opinion, completely raised the bar for what a remake should be in Resident Evil 2. And anybody who comes anything less than that now, it's going to be just considered a remaster. And although I haven't had a lot of time with the game, I completely respect what they're doing with Monster Hunter as far as support and fan service for that game. And I've heard nothing but brilliance for Iceborne. And yeah, that's pretty much. I just think they're just doing special stuff. I mean, even bringing back, with Resident Evil 7, what they did with that. I know that wasn't this year, but I'm just saying. I just want to give them some props on like the work that they're putting in.
No, and
they were all but dead.
Look, I remember
better than ever now.
I remember going on podcasts only like 2 years ago and debating on whether Sony and Microsoft should buy Capcom. And now it's like, who could afford Capcom?
Yeah.
And it's a great problem to hear, honestly. And honestly,
I'm sorry.
Eric's got the same pick as I do. When you have a developer that put out Devil May Cry 5, Resident Evil 2.
Oh yes, I forgot to mention Devil May Cry 5. Yeah.
They've got Resident Evil 3. And let me tell you, you know what? I think Resident Evil 2 Remake really puts Blue Point Games on notice. Because you know what? I said it, I think it was either on this podcast or Multiverse. Mechanically, Shadow of the Colossus was still a clunky PS2 game. It looked beautiful, it was updated, it looked gorgeous, but mechanically, using the horse made me want to hang myself. Like, fling me out of a building with 2 feet of rope, please. But Resident Evil 2 Remake, when you play that game, if you just put a piece of tape over the remake and hand it to someone who's never heard of Resident Evil before, they would not be able to figure out that was a 1990s game. At all. It felt like an entirely new experience, but at its core, it was still the same game.
Right.
And to me, to be able to do that, but also bring back a franchise like Devil May Cry 5 in such a big way, it's huge. And to see Capcom already kicking off next year with Resident Evil 3 Remake and bundling a multiplayer thing that everyone thought was going to be separate, because everyone's like, oh, there's no way they'll ever package those two things together. And Capcom's like, here, have both. Have the remake you want, plus a bonus add-on multiplayer that you might want to try out.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you, I hear those people that like the single-player games really, really love their attached multiplayer modes. Or at least that's what Naughty Dog's learned anyway.
You dropped out there, Nick. I didn't hear the last part. What you said.
Yeah, you dropped out. I have no idea what you said.
Damn it. There's no point in using the joke now. It's like, so some studios have found out that people really love their single-player games, but also love the multiplayer modes. Cough, cough, Naughty Dog.
Gotcha.
But, once again, no dunking on this podcast. YouTube doesn't like it. So, we're going to go to Best RPG now. Best RPG from Sam is The Outer Worlds. And it's also worth noting that 3 out of 4 of us picked Outer Worlds as the best RPG for this year.
That's funny.
So, Sam, Eric, and Jared, in turn, gush a little bit about why you think Outer Worlds is the best RPG this year.
Okay. So, really, really quickly here. The fact is, it is a charming game. It has style. It has substance. It knows what it's doing. It has a fantastic crew of characters. The setting is basically Firefly meets Fallout, meets a tiny bit of Bioshock in space. Just a tiny bit, not too much. Parvati is incredibly wholesome and must be protected at all costs. The science weapons are fun. It's a compact RPG you can easily beat in 15 hours, but there's probably about 30 hours total content. The writing is smart and funny. The quest design means quests can go all over the place. This is not a spoiler, guys. You can literally end the game early by turning in the man who breaks you out of cryosleep and selling him for a profit.
Yeah.
Just from the get-go, from the very beginning of the game.
Great.
You can just do that. Sell him in. Like, yeah, I'm instantly doing this. You can make a stupid character. You can make super intelligent characters. It's an RPG. Does it do that much that we haven't seen before? Arguably not. But you know what it does? It provides all those warm, nostalgic memories of fun RPGs without any of the jank or bugs.
Let's put it this way. It gives you that BioWare / Bethesda RPG vibes that those companies just aren't making anymore.
Exactly. It takes the best bits of a BioWare game and the best bits of a Bethesda game and marries them together. That's good. That's really, 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 really darn good. Well done, Obsidian.
Jared, anything to add?
Not really. Sam pretty much summed it up pretty damn well.
Eric?
Yeah. Sam pretty much nailed it.
All right. Now, my RPG of 2019, Baldur's Gate, baby.
Oh boy.
It came out this year.
Oh my god.
The fix is in.
I had
Yeah, there is a
feeling
fix.
it's gonna show up.
Ivan, get your conspiracies over here. There is a fix going on.
Okay, no, Ivan's level of fixing is way higher than mine, okay? So, why is Now, in fairness, I said Baldur's Gate, not Baldur's Gate 2. Prior, I had never played the original Baldur's Gate. I had only ever played Baldur's Gate 2 because I got it at a flea market. And I was like, oh man, this is an 8-disc game. This will keep me busy forever. And it did. So I played the original Baldur's Gate, which is a shorter experience. Took me about 25 hours to complete. And honestly, it's so good. It's just comfort food. I don't know how to explain it, but just the style of the game, how it plays, the characters, the interactions, the decisions, how all your decisions play into each other. It's so ahead of its time for what it was. And I don't know, it's something it's a meme at this point. Like, me and Baldur's Gate are a meme. Like, there's actual, like, people have edited photos of me onto the Baldur's Gate 2 cover and crap. It's hitting points of hilarity, but I really do love this series. And of course, as I play through Outer Worlds on my Christmas break, I've got like a mountain of games go through on my Christmas break. I'm sure it'll be on my list for best RPG of 2019, but I haven't played a lot of RPGs this year because it hasn't been what's been falling in my lap in terms of reviews and stuff. But just Baldur's Gate, go buy it, play it. It's fun, I promise.
Game Pass, baby, Game Pass.
You know it will. You know it will eventually.
You got no.
I'm with you there, Eric.
No, I want to slap the next person that I suggest a game to. Like, there was a Twitter thread. Someone recommend me a game, so I recommended them a game, and they were like, "Oh, it's probably be on Game Pass." I'm like, "Then why did you ask?" Never mind. I'm just gonna make myself mad.
And Nick, let me say this, man. I don't want you to think I'm dunking on Baldur's Gate by saying Game Pass. I'm only saying that because I have a mountain of games to play, and I've bought so many games. I'm like, I just can't add another one right now.
It's the fact of, by the time you get through a handful of that stack, it very well could be in Game Pass.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I'm getting at, man. I do want to play it though. Hey, and I'll say this, man. If I play it and I really dig it and I love it, you know me, I'll go buy it.
That's true.
I have it on the shelf.
But you guys are currently breaking my achy breaky heart. God, really, that was the reference I came up with. That was the first thing that popped in my head. I need to go to bed. But not before we do best voice acting performance. So, best voice acting performance, I'm going to let Sam go first, because he's got a different game than Jared and Eric, but Jared and Eric have different people. So, Sam picked Laura Bailey, who played Kate in Gears 5. I keep throwing the of war on the end. It's terrible. Sam, why is Laura Bailey your favorite?
So, she did a great job in Gears 4. She did a good job there, but she wasn't the lead. In Gears 5, she was given the lead position after Act 1, and it really shows. Her performance acting is absolutely incredible. The motion capture, the performance capture used in the different scenes as she's fighting the voice of the Locust Queen in her head, as she's fighting this idea of what's in her bloodline and trying to figure out who she is, and the emotions she displays in one scene and how she's able to fuel that and use it, and it almost comes across in the gameplay, carrying over from one scene to another. It's well above and beyond any other performance in the series, I would argue. There's moments, there's highlights that spike higher, but as a consistent performance, what she did was absolutely incredible, and in my humble opinion, a head and shoulders above anything else I played this year.
Touche. Yeah, her performance glued me to Gears 5. I definitely have to agree with you there. The only moment where I was slightly less focused on Kate was when Foz got told to shut the fuck up. That was pretty much the only other
I
moment.
said something spike higher, and that's one of the things I'm talking about.
Like, right?
Oh, man. I also liked how he progressed as a character. I will say that. I can't put that into a category, but how that character progressed through the game was awesome. Just gonna put that out there. I'm really interested to see what his character's like in Gears 6. So now, both Eric and Jared picked from Death Stranding, but they picked different people. And the most interesting part of it is both of the people they picked weren't nominated by the actual Game Awards.
Hey, that's because we know what we're talking about.
Yeah,
right?
I know where this is going, and I like it.
Do too. I do. Go ahead.
So Jared picked Tommy Earl Jones.
It's Jenkins, actually, his last name. But yeah, Tommy Earl Jenkins, Die Hardman.
Oh, God damn it. Don't send me the wrong last name.
I'm sorry. I sent it to you and I looked afterwards. I'm like, oh, well, you know what? There it is. Screw it. I'll just say it when the podcast happens.
Here's me thinking it's like James Earl Jones' long-lost brother. I'm like, this makes so much sense. But why was his performance so captivating to you, Jared?
So for me, I really liked his performance throughout the whole game because he really had that feeling of that stature of power. You could tell with his character that he was in this certain position alongside the president, and that he really kind of had all these secret behind the scene hands and birds feeding him information, sort of thing. You could tell, even through this type of video game, to where I only feel movies can sometimes only properly portray how these characters are. I feel Tommy Earl Jenkins really portrayed how Die Hardman was a true, loyal executive figure that had substantial power, that had stature, and he really threw passion into his voice and into his character too. And no matter what he did, you could tell he was really doing 100% of everything he could with his talent to make sure he brought that character to life as much as possible. And honestly, I felt through most of the other characters in Death Stranding, they kind of didn't feel like they were 100% there, or their character wasn't directed in a way to where they weren't properly telling their character or portraying their character emotionally to a point where you can't really connect to them emotionally. So, to me, Tommy Earl Jenkins and Die Hardman was one of the few characters, one of, I think, two characters in my mind in Death Stranding that really connected to me on a true movie actor level.
Yeah. Can I piggyback on that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Go for it.
And I want to first ask the question of Sam and Nick. Have you guys finished the game yet?
I've not gotten a chance to finish it. Not yet.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Nick?
I keep getting... See, my problem is gamer OCD. I cannot leave a package undelivered.
Okay. I wanted to ask that question because I know exactly where Jared is going at and what he's getting at. Once you guys get there, we'll come back to this and we'll talk a little bit more behind the scenes. Because I'm gonna say this about this guy. He's been an actor. He's done some other games and stuff, right? Mm-hmm. This is the kind of performance that he puts in that puts you now in that area with Troy Baker, Nolan North as getting other.
Wow.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so would you also get him film work? Because I mean, dude, there's a point in the game where you're just like, holy crap, I didn't know this guy could do this level.
That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Would you say that would you go so far as to say that he would have deserved the nomination over Mads Mikkelsen or Norman Reedus?
Absolutely. And I actually tweeted that to him and on my pick. You'll see, and I will go over that in a minute. I tweeted that out last night. Like, I thought Mads was a fine pick. That's fine. But, you know, something we talked about was I think Mads was in there and I think Norman was in there because of kind of like their status in pop culture right now, as far as like things that they've done like Hannibal and then Walking Dead and stuff like that, right?
Right.
And being recognizable. But I'm like, hands down, there's 2 other people in this game that actually should have been nominated, but I can understand why one may not have been, because it's sort of like that he's in everything type of thing.
Right.
And we'll get there in a minute. But Tommy, I was like, who is this guy?
Oh.
And it's like, even in the points that you kind of like, he's not really going in on the acting form, but the interactions with Sam is sort of like, what's his angle? And it's so subtle, and you guys probably picked up on that in the points that you in the game. You're like, there's something going on here with this guy. What's the angle? And that's being delivered in subtlety, and just the way he's portraying the conversation. Like, he keeps sending you out, but you're kind of like, is he about to like stab me in the back in some way? Is there something else? Some other
his mannerisms. Were a big thing that for his character. A lot of his mannerisms, a lot of his slight, subtle ways he says certain things, certain sentences, certain ways he'd structure his dialogue. You're just like, you kind of second guess little things. You go, interesting. It makes you wonder about certain parts of the story that you didn't think about in the past, but all of a sudden you're like, well, you know what? Maybe this and maybe that, and it's just really well done.
And I think he's a gamer as well. And I don't know if you guys picked up on this too, but there were tones in there. I was like, there's some Metal Gear type conversations going on here between like Snake and the Colonel, and Snake and
even early on, even in just the 5 chapters, well, the 4.5 chapters I've played so far, I absolutely got old Metal Gear Solid 2 type, conversations, 2-way conversations going on. Is the vibe I got specifically from him. Maybe not some of the others, but the way he constantly goes, Sam. He's constantly addressing you by your first name. It's like, okay, I get it. I get it, dude.
He actually addresses that, like in an interview. He's like, I have to say his name a lot. His name is Sam. What am I supposed to call him?
Look, I'm gonna put it this way: his performance. As soon as I heard him talk, I was Googling him. In the same way that when I first played God of War 2018, I was like, who is voicing Kratos? Because this is amazing. And his performance really has hit me in a certain way. But Eric's pick is actually the same pick as mine. So I'm going to let Eric go first. So Eric picked Troy Baker as Higgs from Death Stranding. Now, Eric, why did you pick the man who is in 50 million games, Troy Baker? What stood out to you about his performance in Death Stranding?
Because this is, for the man who's been in almost every game and is very recognizable, this is a different Troy Baker.
Agreed.
This is a Troy Baker.
Agreed.
Yeah. This is a guy who, he is having, you can tell when a guy's working and when a guy is having, I'm sure he has fun on all actor in gaming. I'm sure he has his good days, bad days, but I'm sure ultimately it's fun. But the guy's been given something that you could tell he was like, I've never been here before, and I'm gonna roll with it. I'm gonna have fun. Like Sam said once, I'm gonna chew on the scenery. And he's going for it. And the way he portrays Higgs is just like, it's like uber villain. Maniacal guy. And this is a guy that's played the Joker. He's played all these various roles, but I think this is the first time that we're actually seeing a range from a Troy Baker in a way.
Piggybacking on that, again, I haven't finished the game, so I'm sure there's crazy stuff I haven't even heard, but just the handful of times I've run into him so far, I'd already co-signed that.
He steals it. He steals the scene.
Just from the 4.5 chapters I've played, he'd probably be my number 2 pick for the year in terms of performance, and I haven't even finished that game. Like that first line, I keep going back to this, but that first run in, he's like, all it'll take is one itty bitty void out to wipe us all out. I'm like, okay, all right, you've got my attention. He is just having a blast. I've never heard Troy Baker go crazy like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I said. Again, Mads, fine. Norman, fine, but there's other people in this game that are like really delivering. And what's the I'm trying to think of the girl's name who plays Fragile.
It's
Léa Seydoux.
Yeah, because there's things that are going on with her and Troy later in the game, and like they're stealing scenes, you know. And I know I sound like I'm gushing, but it's just there's some very good performances in there, which is why I wasn't really surprised at the what what they won last night as far as the Game Awards go. I thought that was actually a very deserving spot.
Yeah.
Because he got some great performances out of these people.
And yeah, in terms of best direction, I can definitely vibe with him. Them winning best direction.
Yeah.
I'll piggyback on it. Like Sam, I think I'm just slightly ahead of Sam. I think I hit chapter 5, or I'm in late chapter 4. Regardless, listening to Troy Baker play a chaotic character, like we've seen him play the Joker before, but the way he conveys that Higgs lives on chaos and loves it, and the way he portrays that is Heath Ledger Joker levels of evil.
Yeah.
And it's so... I have so much respect for people that do acting in movies. I really do. But it takes a certain level of talent to be able to convey the amount of emotion and feelings to something when you're not physically giving something. Like, I know with like CGI and everything we are in games now that you basically are giving a full-fledged performance. But there's just something so good about his performance. I'm like, man, if I'm making a game in 2021, or if I'm in pre-development phases, I'm grabbing Troy Baker as the villain. Screw casting him as the good guy, make him the villain. That's what I would do. You know what I'd love to see? I would love to see Troy Baker play the villain in the new BioShock game. I want that right now. Sign him up.
We lost you.
Who?
I'm not sure what you want.
I said... I want a lot of things. I want Troy Baker to be signed on as the main villain in the next BioShock game.
Oh, heck yeah. That'd be fantastic.
Tie him down. We got Andrew Ryan 2.0. Let's go.
And I would say, much like Tommy, like I said, he may get more work out of this performance. I think Troy, more people will be looking at a different range for him.
All right. So, we are down to the last handful of categories here, guys.
Woo!
So, we've got Best Publisher remaining. Best Soundtrack / Audio Design. Wow, I really should have done a better job upkeeping these lists. Best Publisher, Best Soundtrack Design, Game of the Year. Voice acting's done. Yeah.
Those are the three. It's just those three.
It's just those three. I just wanted to make sure that we had not missed anything. So, we'll do Best Publisher next. So, Best Publisher of 2019, as per Eric Jackson, is Nintendo. Damn Eric and all his kiddie games. Totally kidding. Eric, why do you think Nintendo was the best publisher of 2019?
Because I just think consistently the titles that they've dropped this year are in almost every conversation in some way. I mean, that's not hard to do when you have Pokemon, but look at, even if they don't, they're not in the conversation for long, you watch somebody like on Twitter or doing a review talking about the game that they played in that moment, and they're just like in a zone and expounding upon it, whether it's like Luigi's Mansion, whether it's Link's Awakening, Astral Chain, whatever the case may be. Like, they had like a really good portfolio of diversity throughout the whole year, in my opinion. And I think it kind of flies under the radar at times because so I just kind of want to like highlight that a little bit and give them some props.
Yeah, like, as much of a joke as it was at the Game Awards when Jeff Keighley announced the Family Games and all the nominations were Nintendo published games, it really speaks volumes to the quality of games they put out, though. Because Nintendo has been kicking down the door in 2019. Just absolutely taking no prisoners at all. And like they released Luigi's Mansion 3, so that's good enough to make them the best publisher of the year to me. Eric, why do you keep Eric, you need to stop preaching Switch gospel on here. I'm gonna friggin' impulse buy one.
Dude, if I had the extra dough right now, I'd just send you one, man.
Oh man,
You never get it back from your kids, Nick.
yeah, I know.
That's true.
That is very true. My daughter's been bugging me for one. She's like, I love Pokemon. I want the new Pokemon game. I'm like, you can't play Pokemon on the Xbox.
You're like, Rand hates it. You don't want it.
Exactly. It's when you go, you don't want this. Here's Link's Awakening. Take this.
Yeah, like Rand said it's not good.
Who's Rand?
Exactly, who's Rand?
Someone we trust now. That's it.
All right, Jared, your best publisher of 2019 was Xbox, and I'm not gonna lie, I need to really hear this one.
It was Xbox. Was.
Oh, right,
Was.
right. Sorry, Jared switched this. Sorry.
Because I thought about it, I'm like, that's
Holy
actually
crap, I
really
kind of want to hear now why you were going there.
I don't know. I don't know. Okay. And I thought I was like, oh yeah, they put out some great years because I always think about more so the indie term, like idea Xbox sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
And I go, you know what? No. This year hasn't really been like that.
No.
It's Devolver Digital. That's my pick for this year. And you know what? It at this point might consistently end up being year after year because I really like how they put out these incredible indie games from all these random people that you don't see coming, and you go, okay, I didn't know I needed this, but I see it now. Now I want it, and that's almost every single freaking game I see coming out of Devolver Digital for like the past 2-3 years, especially this past year. And now they keep doubling down on all these other great, fantastic games and titles too, and they go, thank you. Thank you for actually being a publisher that is taking these incredible indie games and giving them a platform and giving them a spotlight to where they might not have a chance anywhere else, and just giving them the possibility of actually being successful. And I like that.
Yeah, like it's hard to front. Devolver Digital really is like, hey, you've got a game? We'll make that for you.
Yeah.
Like the thing is like Devolver Digital doesn't publish bad games.
Exactly. It's
like they're weird.
When you pick, you're gonna enjoy it.
Like, for example, for those that don't know, My Friend Pedro, which was published by Devolver Digital, is actually developed by Dead Toast Entertainment. The studio's entire staff is Victor Agron. It's one dude made that game.
Wow.
He did everything,
Yeah.
front to back. And the only reason he has a registered studio name is because Devolver Digital needed him to have a studio name in order to publish him. Devolver Digital is sitting there going, this one guy has a really unique spin on a game, we'll publish that. How well will it do? I don't know, we'll put some weird marketing behind it and we'll make it work. They have done more, like, I'm not trying to discredit anything, but Devolver Digital's been pushing indie games this whole generation and as well as ID Xbox has done a fantastic job, but Xbox and PlayStation kind of like, and Nintendo is guilty of this as well. They like to care about indies when it's convenient for them, to an extent. I know the ID at Xbox program always cares. Shout out to those guys that do fantastic work. But like, PS loves indies. I don't know whatever happened to that. Nintendo really loves indies to fill out their library on the Switch. They need to curate that store, though. But Devolver Digital has always been about the small developers and giving them a platform. And they have the best E3 conference every year, bar none. Yeah. Fight me. Now, we're moving on to Sam's pick. Mr. Samuel Tolbert picked Capcom as best publisher of 2019. Now, Sam, why is Capcom the best publisher of 2019?
Because while it wasn't the same studio that developed all those different games, it was the same publisher watching out for them. And come on, look at their lineup this year. They kicked things off with Resident Evil 2, which, look, we've talked at length about that. It's great. Go play it if you haven't. What more do you want me to say? Then they have Devil May Cry 5. Stupid? Yes. Incredibly fun? Also, yes. Where else are you going to find Dante eating a pizza and moonwalking like Michael Jackson right before he takes twin chainsaw motorcycles and slams a dude? Is it going to happen elsewhere? I don't think so. So, Devil May Cry 5, great, stupid fun, fantastic.
Valid.
Then they released Monster Hunter World Iceborne, which is an expansion that's actually bigger than the main game somehow, and they're continuing to add to it, and they're continuing to just drop new secret monsters all the time in free updates that people don't have to pay for. Like, yeah, they're the best publisher of 2019. It's not, I don't think it's really even that close.
Understandable. Yeah. And they're all like really successful games too.
Why give them
Like,
developer
crazy
also?
successful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
Same reason, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So once again, I'm a meme a little here. So my pick for best publisher of this year, because I'm trying to pick different than you guys. I didn't want to echo the same thoughts that you guys had, because I'm basically in the Capcom camp. Is like Capcom is the best publisher and developer this year, bar none. But Beamdog, now bear with me. Yes, they've. So Beamdog is a Canadian video game developer that was a publisher and distributor founded in 2009 by BioWare co-founder Tread Oster and BioWare lead programmer Kevin Topher. And they have been the ones that have been bringing all the isometric RPGs from PC and porting them to console. They are the reason why Baldur's Gate, Neverwinter Nights, Planescape Torment, all these games are now playable on console for the first time ever. These games were never available on console, even back in the day. Baldur's Gate, there was a Baldur's Gate game on console, but it was nothing like the actual Baldur's Gate games. And to make these isometric RPGs accessible to people again, and to see games like Bard's Tale make a comeback as well, and Wasteland, and so many people looking out for isometric RPGs. And with Sam, I cannot remember the name of the studio. They just announced their new game. It's the former developers from Arcane. They were on the Game Awards. Help me here.
Wolfeye Studios, and they're making the isometric immersive action RPG Weird West.
Yes. Isometric games are making a comeback in 2019 heading into 2020, and I'm so happy. Like, I love isometric RPGs. I understand why people don't like them, but there's something so good about them to me. And I'm really interested to see what a couple of Arcane developers with some money are going to go, hey, we're going to make an immersive isometric RPG. I'm like, whoa, immersive? I'm in. Let's do her. I'm here for this. So, yeah, Beamdog's my pick for Best Publisher of the Year, because they're bringing all these classic experiences to more people. As corny as that is.
Fair enough.
So, before we do Game of the Year, we have to do Breakout. Oh, no, we didn't do Breakout Game. Sorry. So we have Soundtrack and Audio Design. Which, also, I will give a shout out to Sam. I set out the topics, or the list of nominations, and Sam sent me his list back with Best Soundtrack and Audio Design with his pick, and in brackets he says, I'm writing this in because it's a major overlook not to have it. Which, touche, sir.
Nice.
Touche, sir. So, Sam's pick was Control. So, explain why the soundtrack / the audio design for Control is...
The audio design half of that is in, again, the weird tones and sounds that are constantly echoing through the oldest house, and the way the Hiss talk, and they're like, push your fingers through the eye, and it's just, that's constantly drilling into your head, and it's creepy, and it's weird, and I like that kind of thing. And it has fantastic use of audio design when Jesse is picking objects up telekinetically and smashing things around, and gunshots ricochet, and the different alternate fire forms and all the sounds they make. The soundtrack half of that you will understand once you play the Ashtray Maze level. And I'm not going to elaborate further.
Awesome. Now, Jared, you can piggyback on this because Control was also your pick.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because I gotta agree with Sam on a lot of things. I absolutely adored the audio design in this game, the weird noises, the chanting, just kind of how the creepiness factor was all kind of just intertwined into it, but not too much to the point where you're just like, oh, it's almost like a horror game sort of thing. But it's the consistent unsettling feeling that you get from the ambience, from the audio, from the sound, and just how that ties into everything in Control. And I don't think Control would be the same if the audio design was even slightly different. I don't think you'd probably have the same effect. It had to be really specific and really on point to drive home their weird message they're trying to get through Control.
Awesome. Now we're going to slide on over to Eric, who picked the first time this game has actually come up in these discussions, which honestly surprised me since you're all a bunch of From Software nerds. Eric chose Sekiro. So, Eric, why did you choose Sekiro?
Sekiro did this beautiful thing, man. Like, and I won't say it was subtle, but you kind of started take advantage of it the more the game goes on, because you're so focused on not dying and getting your ass kicked left and right. But the subtlety of the music, man. Like when the battle ramps up, the music ramps up with you. When you're going through certain areas, it's like these subtle sound effects, these subtle things, and then you have like these guttural sounds from like the creatures and these different things going on. But it's just that feudal Japan, those pan flutes, those different things like that, the drums. It all kind of just came together, and it's a good soundtrack, just in general. So that was my pick.
I can't disagree with that, dude. The music during that final boss fight.
Oh man!
Good God!
And
God!
If you go back and just listen to like the soundtrack of it, you're like, that's insane. Because again, Sam will agree with this, and Jared will agree with this. You're so focused on not just being destroyed by him.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But you know what else Sekiro does well, Eric? It does fantastic music that transitions through the different stages of boss fights, and it gives you those audio cues. Like, okay, especially the Corrupted Nun is another one. Like, heads up. When the violin strings start really twanging, it's like, okay, all right, you're in trouble. Start moving.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then you got that going in conjunction with, when you're parrying, and you got the sounds of the blades clanging together.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, Genichiro drops back and he's firing that bow, and you hear that twang from the bow and all that stuff,
It's intense.
Genichiro, oh my God. Genichiro.
See, I didn't even realize that Sekiro has a soundtrack because I was too busy screaming "fuck" at my computer screen the whole time.
That's what I said, man. If you're too busy yelling "fuck," you're gonna miss some things.
Oh man, but no, seriously, I've actually listened to like the Sekiro soundtrack, so to speak, and it's fantastic. I love the style, and I love everything aesthetically about Sekiro, and I love the story. It's just
you don't like the absolute murder.
You know what?
It's hard.
It's hard as hell, and I'm not gonna be one of these guys that's like, I'm perfect in video games. I suck at third-person action games like that, and From Software games, I am terrible at. I do not have the patience for those kind of games. Man. I flourish in, as Dom and Sam would call them, button mashing action games.
Button mashers.
But
I didn't say there was anything wrong with that. I just said it for what it is.
Hey, but I'll even say, man, DMC5, man, gave you a little bit of a run.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Man. I'm telling you, man. You beat the Sword Saint. I ran outside and I lifted the side of my house.
No joke. When I was done, like I was shaking and I couldn't hold my arms still. My hands just kept on shaking, and my forearm was covered in sweat. My forearms aren't supposed to sweat.
Right.
That's not how it
Right.
See,
works.
this is the effect that these From Software games have on gamers, especially when you follow them through to the end. Because honestly, like Dark Souls 3, that was my biggest religious experience with these type of games. I'm telling you, if you ever finish one of these games from start to finish, especially Sekiro, you're gonna look at yourself differently as a gamer and be like, "Holy crap! I just put myself through all of this. I just did all of this, and I beat this freaking game, this really insanely difficult game. Oh my lord, I am awesome! I am a god! I can beat anything!"
Yeah.
Nah.
And correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's like one of the times like in a From Software game where they're like, okay, yeah, you're gonna fight this difficult end boss, but guess what? You're gonna fight 3 forms of him.
Yeah. No, I thought it was just one round. Nuh-uh.
Yeah.
No. You thought he was dead. Here comes round 2.
See, I just
I
can't
gotcha.
wait till Elden Ring gets gameplay shown and releases, so I can listen to all the friggin' From Software nerds stand in a circle and jerk off about how hard the game is.
Yeah, well, we'll be there in the circle, so neat.
Damn straight, stroking it long and hard, my friend.
Oh my god.
And never forget, one out of three men rubs one out at work.
Great, we're gonna have guys jerking off because they beat a boss in Elden Ring because of xCloud. Great. Great. No,
Oh my God.
I've a friend wagered me in the new year, and I'm gonna take the challenge on. He said if I can beat Bloodborne in 2 months, he'll donate $500 to charity. So I'm obviously gonna bite that bullet
Ooh, yeah, for sure.
and hate myself because the motivation is gonna make me push myself through the pain. I know if I actually sat down and learned the actual mechanics and had a little bit of patience, I could probably do it. But anyone who knows me knows patience is not my virtue.
When you get the hang of it, it's enjoyable. You just got to get the hang of it first.
Yeah, never mind. I was gonna. That would, if we're not demonetized already, then I definitely would have got us demonetized.
Yeah.
So my pick for musical score is My Friend Pedro. Because literally, my wife looked at me the other day while I was playing on Xbox, and I'm sitting there, and she's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "What?" She's like, "You're just bopping." And I'm like, "Oh, sorry." I don't even notice it, but that music just gets me amped. And like,
Sweet club music.
yeah, well, I used to be a huge EDM guy, and I don't know. There's just something about its soundtrack that I really, really like. It's super basic, but it suits the game so well.
It does.
I will also throw in a big honorable mention to Death Stranding, because when you see the song title and the artist in the top as you're approaching like an epic scene and that song hits, whew.
Yeah. I can't argue with that one, honestly. I've seen the action, man.
That was possibly one of my other picks if it wasn't Sekiro.
All right, so final 2 categories, guys. Breakout game of 2019. 2 of you guys have the same.
Of course.
Jared and Sam, you both played the Plague Tale Innocence. It's the breakout game of the year. I feel like we've brought this game up like 4 times on this podcast already.
Yeah, I feel like we don't really have to say anything except play it.
Yeah, like
Just go play it, please.
Just
At this point,
friggin' play it, man.
literally, if you do not go and play Plague Tale Innocence, I will trip you whenever I see any of you at E3.
And then it gets worse than that. I'll sick Micah on you.
Oh God, you don't want Mike on you.
Mike is gonna go into wrestling as the game of the year. That's gonna be his wrestling name.
Eric chose Devil May Cry 5.
Okay.
Eric, why Devil May Cry 5?
Because they brought the game back to what I guess I don't want to say what necessarily what OG fans, because I don't want to do that isolation thing, but I know not everybody vibed with DMC, and they felt it was too much of a departure from the traditional Devil May Cry game, right? So I just kind of felt, again, Capcom in their glory of being awesome developer and publisher really went back to the roots of what makes that franchise special and delivered upon that.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you with that at all.
Again, and another game too where the music, again, it just goes with it so well that you take it for granted. You know, when that Devil Bringer just it like ramps up and that those beats are going and the rock is like, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, Devil May Cry 5 is a special game. I'm really interested to see what they do next. For me, my breakout game, I've been torn on this for a while, but my breakout game for this year is Metro Exodus. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying the previous two Metro games aren't bad, but they weren't this. The step in quality and immersion and detail and storytelling and everything that went from Metro Last Light to Metro Exodus is huge. A huge amount of developer growth. And went from being a game that people bought because it was $5 on an Xbox or PS sale to being a game people were looking out for. And I think that the next installment is going to be hugely looked out for. And I think it'll be a contender for Game of the Year of whatever year it launches. The only thing and if anyone from 4A Games ever listens to me rant about this game, let the actual character I'm playing speak. It's so weird and jarring to not say anything. To have people having full-fledged conversations with you being involved and you just sitting there nodding along. Just add a voice actor. Commit to the voice actor. And I'll be happy. All right. Now for the colossally great takes that will come from this Game of the Year time, baby. Game of the Year.
Let it go.
Let's go. And hold on. Let me check. We all have different picks. So, we're going to start with Sam. Because somebody needs to let this man gush about this game. So Sam's Game of the Year is... Sam, what is your Game of the Year?
I think I've said this before to some of you guys in private. I've said it to others. But my Game of the Year is Gears 5. When it was first shown at E3 2018, it appeared that the Coalition had taken feedback on who we wanted to see as the main character. The tone we wanted to see for the game. What kinds of areas we want to see in the game, the lore that some of us nerds have been begging to have explored in the game, and the answers of where the Locust came from and what the Locust Queen really was. We wanted to see that explored. We wanted to see more of the world of Sarah explored. And they nailed it. And they answered it in spades. It's the closest thing Gears has been to a globe-trotting adventure, as it takes you all across different maps and different regions, from the jungle, the near jungle overgrowth of Azura and how gorgeous it is rappelling down in there, to defending some of these manufactured cities of the COG in Act 1, frozen lakes and northern outcast villages, sands, red sands and electric storms, turning the sand in the desert to glass in UIR territory. It's phenomenal. It's simply phenomenal. It advanced the story. It advanced those games. It advanced the franchise as a whole while giving us an incredible new lead, introducing new gameplay mechanics that actually meant something while not taking away from the core mechanical identity and that mechanical perfection that is Gears of War third-person combat. Oh, and that's just the campaign. which has a fantastic soundtrack from Ramin Djawadi, the Game of Thrones composer. He does an amazing job providing Kate and the others with different tracks that really pull on the emotional heartstrings. And then they added Escape, multiplayer, Horde, and build your own maps. Like, come on.
Right on, man.
There it is.
Cannot argue with that. Well, I could, but I'd be an asshole. So Jared's apparently been stroking long and hard, and his game of the year pick is.
Oh yeah, Sekiro, baby, that's my game of the year pick. We just went on a bit of a tangent about Sekiro. I don't think there's really too much more to say, other than I guess it really is to me a nice evolutionary step from what From Software is usually doing with their types of games. It's a nice change of pace. It's refreshing. It's different. It did so many things right. The amount of technicality that has gone into that game to make sure that you, the player, have to be just as technical in order to succeed is incredible. Like, the timing has to be insane. Eric and Sam can definitely attest to this and agree to this one because
Hell yeah.
oh man, like what they did to me for how precise you have to be is almost unmatched in many other games. And intertwining that into a game where there's no difficulty setting, but it's still achievable. It's out of reach, but it's achievable. You just have to work to get to it. It provided the same experience that Dark Souls does, but in a different way. And it's just, yeah, I could keep going on, but I'm going to stop here. But yeah, it's my game of the year. I could go on and on and on.
Right on, man. All right. Now, Eric, your game of the year pick is a split one. So you want to explain that?
Yeah, because I think I hit you up earlier and I said I'm very conflicted on what my game of the year would be. But I'm just gonna go with the one that I initially went with. I'm gonna go with Ari's Resident Evil 2, and I'm going with that. It's edging out because I also have a nostalgic factor to that game. It is a game that I absolutely loved in the PS1 days, and never actually thought, would see again, like on this level. And again, we've been going on about Capcom all night, and I said earlier, they raised the bar for how a remake should be done. And what's great about this game is it's remixed enough to where old heads like me can play it again, and it feels completely fresh and new. But it's now been introduced to a completely new audience, and it's garnered so many new fans. I mean, I don't know if I expressed this to you guys, but it was just awesome when you guys were playing through it and hearing you guys talk about, the first time you saw Mr. X and this and that, and it made me flash back to like those first times I saw him back in the day, which he seemed more ominous now than he did back in the day, but
Man, he's freaky.
yeah. And I think I messaged you guys too, like, I know the dude was coming and I still like jumped. But it was just great, seeing you guys and other people on Twitter like experiencing it and how it was just in the conversation. And there's certain games that come along where people put down the sword and just share in an enjoyment of something, whichever platform it's on. And I think RE2 was one of those games.
Those are the best conversations. Hands down, the best conversations you can have.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So, yeah.
I wish we had those conversations about Death Stranding, honestly. But so for my game of the year pick, it's I was kind of like Eric, kind of split. But ultimately, I'm as well going to be picking Resident Evil 2 Remake. It's going to edge out A Plague's Tale. Just for the simple reason is I'm not a survival horror kind of guy. Not really huge into it. It's not my cup of tea typically. Anything that makes me like anxious through gameplay generally isn't a go for me. But like the whole Mr. X scenario, like my wife was telling me to take a break because I'm like sitting there vibrating with the controller as I hear the footsteps on the floor above me or below me. Or the worst one is when your camera was angled in a certain way and you didn't see him, and all of a sudden you get punched out of nowhere. And it speaks volumes to me how far Capcom has come. But also speaks to volumes to me is how well they understand their audience as well. Because I remember when they released Resident Evil 7, like Resident Evil 7 is a great game. And a lot of people acknowledge that, but a lot of people are like, man, I really missed the traditional Resident Evil. So they were like, here's Resident Evil 2 remake. And now they're doing, hey, here's Resident Evil 3 remake. So it really makes me think that when Resident Evil 8 really comes along, they're going to take some risks. Because they're applying two different fan bases now. This is new Resident Evil. This is a new experience. But also, here's the classic Resident Evil you love. In case this new stuff isn't your jam. And I have an insane amount of love for that. And, like, I was not a huge Resident Evil fan. I actually liked the movies. I wasn't a huge fan of the games. Shoot me. Okay? But Resident Evil 2 Remake has me sitting there going, man, I hope they remake all of them because I kind of want to play all of them now. So that's my Game of the Year pick is Resident Evil 2 Remake. And you know what? Anyone who said that, oh, it's a remake, it can't be nominated for Game of the Year. Your mom's a hoe.
Dude, every time I saw that argument, I'm like, are you serious?
If it was a remaster, I'd understand the argument.
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously. But it's a full-on remake. It's not the same thing. And even if it wasn't my pick, I can't disagree with either of you guys picking that.
Mm-hmm.
I can't.
And, like, you know what? I want to give a shout out to Blue Point Games and Capcom because they have officially made it impossible for Activision to release re-up-res ports and call them remasters for PS5 and Xbox Series X. Thank God. Because if I see them bring Deadpool or Prototype 1 and 2 in a bundle for $60 again, I'm going to slap somebody.
Man, that was a disappointing bundle.
I don't even want to talk about it.
I bought the Prototype one. Yeah, just.
Prototype 1 was a great game, but never needed a sequel. The sequel just made things so much more worse.
Yeah.
And they did not even try to make the protagonist even vaguely likable. Like, Alex Mercer wasn't likable in the first place, but they really made the other guy not likable at all. But yeah, so that's the official Gaming Perspective Game Awards. Want to thank everyone that tuned in. I want to thank everyone that's going to leave me really nasty comments about our picks. And yeah, I want to thank these guys for their time as always. Now, end of stream, we're going to do our outros first, and then I'll do a little update here. So, Sam, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Samuel Tolbert. That's TOLBERT. You can find me, you can find what I write anyways, on Windows Central, Android Central, and iMore. And thank you guys for getting together and doing this and talking about why we love games. And you'll notice we weren't yelling over each other why we were all wrong or why someone's pick was wrong or we had to do this or that. Like, we just enjoy stuff.
Yeah. We just like games. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, like
it doesn't get more. It's not more difficult than that.
Imagine that.
Yeah,
right?
And don't worry. In the DMs, I still call these guys trash all the time. Don't worry. And it's a vice versa thing because I'll put a tweet. I'll DM them something, and they'll be like, "Nick, are you high right now?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
That's when we go. Stop it. We all know Baldur's Gate is trash. Okay.
Oh, man. I will pay the $1,300 to fly to Calgary and slap the taste out of your mouth.
Bring it, because then we'll go for beers afterwards.
Okay, as long as you make cookies.
I could do that too.
Beauty. Jared, where can people find you?
They can find me on Twitter at RageVirus_X.
Right on. And Eric, where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter, EC Jackson with an X, and on all the other platforms under the same name.
And I'm Nicholas Downey. I am the host of the Gaming Perspective Podcast. You can find me on Twitter at Undead3XVI, where I share all my writing and reviews. And I appreciate all the support that people show me on the platform, and I appreciate all the hate mail as well. You guys fuel me. So keep it coming. So, in a final announcement, we will be switching channels. There will be an official The Gaming Perspective channel that will be launching January 1st. It may be up before that, but there won't be any content on it till January 1st. So what this is going to entail is because of how YouTube's decided to design their new updates that go into effect January 1st, 2020, I had to restart my channel due to restrictions and other struggles I've faced with the content I upload. So while we've had a great time, I've used a lot of profanity and everything else this episode, we will be switching to a more PG format going forward, so that YouTube doesn't choke me out of viewers. So I appreciate all the support that we've gotten on this channel, and if you love this show, keep an eye on the Twitter. You can also follow the Gaming Perspective Twitter as well. The link will be released there, as well as my personal Twitter. So if you guys want to keep up to date with that as well, that will be going forward. This channel will be closed by December 1st. It will be closed in terms of there will be no more uploads, but if you want to backwatch any episodes or find any clips to make fun of me for, this channel will still be up for your viewing pleasure. So I want to thank everyone for the support. 2019's been a wild ride for all of us, really. It's been crazy. I was going to say some emotional shit at the end, but fuck it. We're just going to end the podcast. I appreciate everyone. I appreciate these guys and can't wait to keep doing this in 2020 and bringing you the best Baldur's Gate takes on YouTube, Podbean, and all other services. So we will catch you guys in the new year.